Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. Would you all please stand and join me in pledge allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The first order of business this evening is action on minutes. To see what action the board wishes to take regarding approval of the minutes from the meetings held on June 15th, 2026. Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from the meeting held on June 15th, 2026? Thank you. And are you abstaining where you weren't here, Jarrett? Okay. The motion passes and minutes are approved. Moving on to citizen comments. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to speak this evening? Moving on to board member comments. Are there any board members that would like to speak this evening? Moving on to the chairman's report. First, I'd like to welcome everybody back. I hope you all had a nice summer. Yeah, it doesn't feel like it was the summer because it was a week, but here we are. If you have not already, we have the board information and subcommittee sheets out there on the table. If you could complete those and get them back to Mark or myself. Just please note that if you're interested in serving on the policy committee, the expectation is that you will serve on 2 committees, and the policy committee and another subcommittee as well. Looks like SED 44's adult ed will be hosting an open house and job fair on August 18th from 11 to 1 p.m. here at Telstar High School in the adult education wing. It's a great opportunity for you to come and explore the options they have, see what they're all about. So I'd encourage anybody interested to go.
So the 18th, sorry.
Yes, yep, it is August 18th, a Tuesday, 11 to 1. Here at Telstar. And for upcoming professional development opportunities, the MSMA Fall Conference is approaching toward the end of October 29th and 30th. So if you're interested in attending any or all of that, please let the central office know, and we can make that happen and get you registered. And that concludes the chairman's report. Moving on to upcoming committee and board meetings. The next SAD 44 board meeting is Monday, September 21st. It does say the 2nd in your agenda. We have a little typo we didn't catch, but it is the 21st here at 6:30 in the Telstar Library. The Education Committee will meet Thursday, September 10th at 3 p.m. at the Norway Savings Bank Conference Room. Finance and Negotiations Committee will meet Tuesday, September 8th at 5:30 in the central office. Facilities and Personnel will meet before the regular board meeting on Monday, September 21st at 5:15 in room 131 here at Telstar. The Policy Committee will be meeting Wednesday, September 2nd at 12:30 p.m. here at Telstar in the round table conference room. Thank you. And the Region 9 Cooperative Board will be meeting August 12th. At 6 p.m. It does say the 5th in your agenda, but we received notice that they would be meeting the 12th instead at 6 p.m. at the Region 9 School of Applied Technology. Next is committee reports, which the committees have not met since we concluded at the tail end of the last school year. Unless, Levi, did you have anything to report on for Region 9?
That August 5th meeting was moved to the 12th.
Perfect.
So.
Okay.
That.
All right. Thank you, Levi. And I will turn it over to Mark for the superintendent's report and correspondence.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. And thanks for sticking out this sweaty evening with us. A lot of housekeeping tonight. We have one appointment. We have Jill Knight was hired as our new special ed and central office secretary. She'll be starting on Monday. She comes to us from SAT 17. There were no transfers. We have a couple of resignations. Michael Miranda, who is a middle TMS special ed Tech 3, effective August 4th, 2026. Janet Bartlett, adult ed clerk, effective June 30th, 2026. and Shawnee Chase, who was special ed district social worker, effective June 30th, 2026. A whole host of Schedule B appointments. Telstar Middle School, we have Greg Lecce, TMS head girls soccer coach. Nicena Walker, TMS girls assistant soccer coach. Nate Cricker, TMS head boys soccer coach. Roland Smith, TMS assistant boys soccer coach. Chrissy Hanscom, TMS cross country coach. Karen Whitman, TMS head field hockey coach. Talia Buck, TMS assistant field hockey coach. Susan Gordon, TMS yearbook. And Caitlin Buck is going to do middle school leadership this year. For Telstar High School, we have Michael Leary as the THS head football coach. Katie Cricker, THS head girls soccer coach. This year her assistant is going to be Tim Coombs. We have Marianne Wentworth as the new THS head field hockey coach. And Brooklyn Kimball, THS assistant field hockey coach. Nick Conrad returns as the THS head boys soccer coach, and Scott Underhill will be his assistant. Tara Ingraham, THS student council co-advisor, along with Kelly Frazier. And Tara Ingraham is also going to THS yearbook. Crescent Park, we have Crystal Gould for Crescent Park student council and fall soccer coach. And Ashley Broderick is going to do CPS yearbook. For Woodstock, we have Linda Yates doing Woodstock yearbook. We do have currently 2 open assistant football coaching positions that are still looking to be filled at the high school. And preseason starts on Monday for all of our high school teams. So still looking for that. It's been advertised, but if anyone knows or helps spread the word, we are still looking for 2 assistant coaches for the football team. As per policy BDA, for letter intent for school board chair, letters were supposed to be by August 1st, and I did receive 1 letter from Aaron Cooley, who is interested and willing to serve again. That'll be voted on in our September meeting. Gina Welch, if you've seen the paper and following along, was made the round of 8, the semifinal round, for the teacher of the year at the state level. She has done a couple different presentations and a conference where she presented. She will be hearing in the next couple weeks. They're going to learn who makes the final 4, essentially, to go to the next round. But she did her interview, she did her presentation, she had to pick a platform and meet with a panel of like 15 people at the state level. All the final 8 did to get to the final 4. And her whole platform is about connecting with kids and parents and the communication piece. That's her platform that she's running off of. It's a great presentation. Tanya and Michelle and I sat in as a dummy round, and Brian as well, to help her do that, just so she would have an audience. And they have a time limit, and they have to get certain things in, requirements. And if you know Gina, when she gets nervous, she wants to talk really fast. But she did great, and so we're really proud of her and hoping for the best as she moves forward. We know that she's more than deserving and should be in that group, so we will see. As far as summer hires and staffing updates, there's a bunch of positions tonight for you to approve. Currently, as I stated in the agenda earlier, we only have our Telstar Industrial Arts position left to be filled, and we have 3 EdTech 3 positions, which happen to all be in the Telstar complex. We had 1 resignation, which I read earlier, and then our other 2 holes, we actually moved people into teaching roles for this coming year to get certification to fill open teaching positions. So we kind of created our own holes that way, but we have 3 EdTech 3 positions open. So again, if you know of anybody or anyone's out there, those are our last few things to fill. The other thing we're going to be looking for, and I didn't put it in the agenda earlier, but substitutes. We are really shy on substitutes. I think we hired 6 of our subs into permanent positions for the coming school year, which is a wonderful thing. They're very familiar with the school, they want to be here, and they stepped up to other roles, but it depleted our sub pool very significantly. So if there's anybody out there who's interested, if they want to contact either the building principals or central office, we can help do training for them and help them get prepared if they have questions or they want to come in. We've also in the past few years offered them if they want to come in and shadow and just see what it's like first before they go into any kind of commitment level. They're more than welcome to do that. But that helps them to have a better sense of what they're actually looking to sign up for. But
What do they need as a minimum?
a high school diploma,
Okay.
And then if they want to be hired, they will have to go through the background check and fingerprinting process. But the only requirement is a high school diploma.
And is it, what's the pay? Do you-
We just changed it last year. I think it's in the mid-20s. We upped it. I don't know off the top of my head, so I can check.
No, I just figured.
Okay, it takes 90 credit hours beyond high school.
Yes, EdTech 3 is 90 credits. College credits beyond the diploma. And EdTech 1, you just need a high school diploma. But to be in EdTech 3, you have to have at least 90 credit hours in college.
And the openings are at Tech
They're all currently at EdTech
Okay.
3 levels, yes. Just based on what their assignments are. 2, I believe, are currently in the functional life skills program here, and 1 is, I think, the 8th grade EdTech liaison for the 8th grade team. Those positions are vacated. There have been a ton of summer maintenance projects ongoing around the district. If you haven't had a chance to talk to Mr. Windover, he is a man of action. He doesn't sit still much and has been very hands-on in making sure these projects get done, which has been great. Custodians are actually ahead of schedule in all the buildings, which is awesome, because they're doing a lot of extra. We'll have time to do extra little projects, will be wonderful. We have had rug replacements again this year at Crescent Park, the middle school, and at Woodstock. We've had parking lot and walkway paving projects at Crescent Park and Telstar this year in the first of 2 phases, so this is year 1, and there are more sections next year for year 2 to be done. Painting of classrooms, hallways, and bathrooms in this building, a lot of interior painting going on this year, which will be an annual thing going forward. We still have roof repairs and replacements at Crescent Park and here at Telstar. The gym floor is currently being refinished here in the gym up at Telstar. They were sanding over the weekend and they're getting everything ready to go. There have been repairs to fascia boards and window trims down at Woodstock, thanks to Mr. Windover. The Telstar music room ceiling has finally been completed. It is a complete drop ceiling, all in working order. And Mr. Elliott and the custodial staff here spent a good part of a week cleaning out all the storage closets, the music rooms, and the stage area here to look at the last 30 years of collected items. And if you notice the dumpster, the roll-off dumpster out in front of the auditorium, they're going to start the process of cleaning out this week and truly organizing. It's been a big project, but one that's been long overdue, and will be awesome for our music department to truly see the inventory that they do have, to get equipment in that needs to be repaired and in working order and really organized. And they've been working with, Elaine Hutchins came in as well as the middle school drama coach, and they went through a lot of props and staging to see what they needed, what they haven't used in the last 10 years, what was in the way, and really try to make sure that the music program has a little boost, and space. Space is becoming an issue, and so with this, there's going to be a lot more space provided and organization. It'll be a good thing. It'll be a really good thing. But it took a lot of sweat, and they're not done yet. Upstairs, Ms. Moore is going to have a new office area as the assistant principal. They've combined 2 offices into 1 office suite for her off the upstairs main hallway. The field hockey scoreboard is being installed and should be ready to go before preseason begins. Both Crescent Park and Woodstock got new intercom entry systems to match ones here at Telstar, so the secretaries will have iPad controls and better cameras for the new entryway systems to get buzzed in to go to any of the schools. And in this building, there were 4 additional vape detectors added in the public bathrooms up by the gym, the nurse's office, and in the industrial arts classroom. And we also had some camera server drives replaced here that died over the summer. So we've had to upgrade some of our camera systems internally. Thank you for those who have your board sheets filled out and return them, or we'll get them back so we can get, I just want to make sure we have time to get the subcommittees all announced so everyone can fill their calendars in and know their schedules. As Aaron mentioned, the MSBA and MSMA have events coming up. MSBA school board supports and development meetings. Destiny reported out on these the last couple of years. They are Zoom meetings. They used to be regional, and now they are statewide. They host a couple ones different times during the summer. They're open to anybody. So if you would like to sit in on different topics and different things around the state with the State School Board Association, the next one coming up is September 9th. It is 6 to 7:30 in the evening. There's another one on the 14th and one on the 17th. Those are in your agenda. If that's something of interest, to jump onto a Zoom and just see some of the topics that are being discussed in different boards and the state level, state legislation, and things coming your way. And then this year's fall conference at the Civic Center is a week later than normal. It is the end of October, October 29th and 30th. You can go to either the Thursday or the Friday or both if you'd like to. The workshops, they have not put out the workshop agendas yet, but it's a whole host of different things to do. The vendors are there on Thursday only on the floor of the Civic Center. And if you want to go for both nights and want to stay over, you just have to email Robin and she will set up a room for you. They have a bank of rooms you can choose from. And with that, I will conclude the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Moving on to old business, we do not have any to attend to this evening. We have 2 new business. As far as I'm aware, we don't have any discussion or adjustments to this evening's agenda. I will move on to number 3, to see what action the board would like to take regarding the approval of the superintendent's election of the following teachers to a first-year probationary contract for the 2026-2027 school year. Josh Elliott, TMS 6th grade math teacher. Mariah Vincent, THS 9th grade special education teacher. Corey St. Xavier, TMS 6th grade science teacher. Kimberly Struck, elementary social worker, Sarah Safford, that's elementary instrumental music teacher. Do I have a motion? Motion approved. Thank you, Stephanie. Second. Thank you. And I'll open the floor for discussion on this agenda item on these candidates.
So you'll see some familiar names possibly on this list. Josh Elliott, who Lindsay has wrestled with and wrangled with for years to twist his arm into finally taking the lead to being a teacher. He has been a long-term sub. The last year he was in ed tech, and now he's finally going to step in and be, he's working on his emergency certification to be a full-fledged classroom teacher. He spent time in this building doing maternity leave subbing for 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade math over the last few years before he became an ed tech. Very well skilled and excited. He's great with the kids. He's been an assistant middle school baseball coach in the past few years as well. Mariah Vincent, another Telstar grad, has been in the district as an ed tech and now moving from an ed tech into the 9th grade case manager role in the high school. Corey St. Xavier, who last year was our 6th grade math teacher, at the end of the year had stepped away and for personal reasons resigned, and the situation is different and has been able to come back and move back as the 6th grade science teacher, which was the position that she was going to transfer into anyway. Science was her background. She did a great job last year in 6th grade math, wonderful with the kids, but science is where she had taught previously, so it's much more comfortable. Kim Struck is coming to us from SAD 17 and has been a social worker down there for the last 10 years or so. And Sarah Safford is coming back as the instrumental music teacher at the elementary level. They have finished their travels and she is ready to return to the classroom, and so she is back. And very excited to be back.
Is it a successful?
They did not make the journeys that they thought they were going to originally. They did not get to hike the trail due to different complications, but they instead did some cross-country travel and did some national parks and other things, and so they've been traveling ever since. But she's ready to return and looking forward to being back. Andy?
How's the standing over tenure happen with quitting and then being rehired?
You start over.
Good.
Yep. So she gets her experience factored into her pay scale like anyone would, years of experience, but when you come back for seniority, you start back at year 0. So, very excited. In fact, that most of these were actually settled back in June and July, early on, which is awesome. There were interviews and applications for all of them, which was also It's become rare in the last few years. I have options, which was great. And so we feel pretty fortunate and looking forward to the year. Are there any other questions? I know it's a lot to ingest and flip through, but we feel very fortunate to have all these positions filled before school starts. Not everyone can say that.
Has everyone had opportunity to read through? And there's no further discussion? So, all of those in favor of approval of superintendent's selection of the Maine teachers to a first probationary contract for 2026-2027 school year? Thank you, it's unanimous, motion passes. When you're done with that information, please pass it back. Number 4, see what action the board wishes to take regarding the approval of the appointment of John Elliott Jr. as the district's affirmative action officer for the 2026-2027 school year with a stipend of $1,500. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Destiny. Second. Thank you, Stephanie. We'll open the floor for discussion, if there is any. His dad typically wore the hat, so here we are. Go ahead,
So
sorry.
we're required to have an affirmative action Title IX officer in the district. John took over been with the last 3 years after I moved out of the principalship in the superintendency. He's had the training. He does the annual refresh training through Drummond and Woodsum each year. And he is called upon to he's the neutral party investigator for any situation in the district when it comes to staff or student issues, at least that level, so.
Any discussion or questions at all? Seeing none, all those in favor of the approval of the appointment of John Elliott Jr. as the district's affirmative action officer for the 2026-2027 school year? Thank you, it's unanimous. Number 5, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding approval of the superintendent's recommendation of the following appointments to the district's local credential committee, LCC, for 3-year terms. Kelly Frazier, Gina Welch, and Andrea Howe. Do I have a motion?
Motion approved.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Destiny. I'll open the floor for discussion, if there is any at all. Any questions or discussion at all on this agenda item?
What is the local?
So the the Department of Education, when it comes to teacher certification, ed tech certification, every 5 years, when they have to send everything in, they farmed it out to the local districts. So we have to have a committee that oversees all the credentialing for all staff in the teaching and ed tech realm. So every 5 years, they help keep track of their credits, research credits and hours, and documentation, and then they make approvals and send all this onto the state on behalf of the district, and then the state certifies it essentially. And every 5 years, everybody has to re-up their 90 credit hours. So it's a committee of 6 people, and they oversee it for everyone in the district.
What's the stipend?
I think it's in the Schedule B of the contract. It's just under $1,000. It's 900 and more. So, and so there's the chair of that committee is Brenda White and Terry Graham are the chairs. And in this group here, Andrea Howe represents the ed techs. She's replacing Susie Gordon, who's on for many, many years. So. They have a very good system here. They do a lot of digital documentation, and we changed the practice a few years ago that anytime there's in-house, in-district provided PD, it's automatic as long as they sign up for it. They don't have to worry about getting certificates and collecting all this paperwork documentation. It's just logged for them, so it makes a big difference.
Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, all of those in favor of approval of the superintendent's recommendation for appointments to the district's local credential committee with 3-year terms. Thank you, it's unanimous. Number 6, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding the appointment of an MSAD 44 board representative to the WMRPEC board in Oxford.
I will make a motion.
Second. To approve. We'll open the floor for discussion and for the opportunity for anyone to volunteer if they would like.
This is our collective special ed program in Oxford. It's a special purpose public program that we coordinate with Oxford Hills and Freiburg Academy, or Freiburg School District, that we are part of, and other districts can opt in and pay extra tuition. It is a 7 through 12 program. It is in a building owned by SAD 17 right beside Oxford Elementary School building. There is a new director, executive director this year. The previous director retired last year, and the new director has moved over. She was an assistant special ed director at SAD 17, and she has moved over into this role, Jen Masiola. And so she is very energetic and ready to get going, and seeing they have 2 teachers, 3 ed techs, and 14 students total in this program. And so you only pay if you send kids to the program. It's a tuition-based thing. Last year, Scott served. Previously, Destiny had done it for a few years before that, or the 2 years previous to that. That I've been going. The meetings for board member commitment, it is the third, well, the emails are still going around. It has been the third Monday morning of each month down there from roughly 8:30 to 10 a.m. That you'll be signing up to do. We don't have a final schedule for the year yet, but that's what it has been in the past. That's what this morning looked like we're still going to rest on. We need to have a board member representing SAD 44 on the committee along with me. Mr. Chickman also goes to the meetings. You can Zoom in or get Google Meet in if you need to do it remotely. Other than that, we meet in person down there at the school. So it's just something to consider. I just need to have a decision. We don't meet until September. So it would actually be the month, if the schedule holds true, it would be the Monday morning of our next board meeting on the 21st, if they hold the same meeting schedule. So if there's nobody this evening that wants to jump on board just yet, you can also email me. And we go from there.
Can you talk to Scott at all? Is he interested in redoing
I
it?
haven't had a chance to, he's coming tomorrow to see if he wants to do it again. As of last year, he said I didn't want to speak for him. He did not give me the final thumbs up. He was going to do it last year. So,
Is there anyone else here that might be interested in that role?
Peter? Or,
Well, go right ahead.
sign him up, raise his hand.
You got it.
Can somebody recite this acronym to us?
it's the Western Maine Regional Program for Exceptional Children. It's taken me 3 years and I should get that correct. I usually
Do we
reverse the last
currently
2.
have any students enrolled in it?
We do not. We have not had any students for the last 2 years in the program.
Just because it's not the right fit for any of our kids at the quarter.
It's been a shift. They've had a hard time staffing wise. This year before last, they only had 1 teacher. They were hiring a substitute to come in. They did an outside group, an outside company was placing people in. They've had ed techs come and go. The director and the social worker were teaching classes and covering because they were shorthanded. So they've been trying to figure out their staffing. Right now, this will be the first time that they've gone 2 years in a row with the entire same staff, which says something that they're building better staffing and they're all on board. Their contracts run through SAD 17. They're technically SAD 17 employees, even though they're not a program of 17, it's just a collaboration. And the program rents the building space from SAD 17. So SAD 17 owns the building. It's a former school that they used to have in the district. So their budget runs through 17 as a subsidiary.
What makes this different than other programs you've seen students do that we don't have to be on the hook for?
It's because when they started this, it was something that Dr. Murphy and the other two superintendents collaborated on to write the grant. It was started from a grant and formed a board, so it's its own entity. When we send kids to, like a Mark Murphy, they have a board too. We just don't have to have a seat at the table. We are a partner member, one of the 3 districts that started the program, which is why we're on the board. So, and we don't have, like, when we send kids to Rumford, we have so many slots. Here, it's just trying to find the right fit. So it's based on an IEP, visitation, there's a screening process, an application. We go through it that way. So we could have, we're not limited. It's just trying to find the right fit. A lot of these kids are, in the past, this program's been going for 9 years, I think, now. Started as sort of an alternative, and then they were kind of a autistic, high-function autistic school, but they moved away from that, and they've had kids all different levels. So that what they're trying to do, and what the new director's mission is really trying to find the identity for the school, and what kind of a population do they want to pull in, so they can really advertise themselves better. Because right now, they're just kind of an enigma. So, but they have some kids, there's a student that comes from Lisbon, there's students come from all over trying to find placements. It's set up for grades 7 through 12, but currently they haven't had anyone younger than 8th grade. And it's just more because the academics span what they have for staffing, what they can offer. But they do credit recovery, they do a lot of, they get a lot of field trips out in the community for the kids. These kids too, there's a maker space where they make a lot of crafts and projects. They do the DECA craft fair at Oxford Hills each year. They work with Responsible Pet Care a lot. They're a partner, community partner. They go over to the elementary school next door and do some buddy work over there. So they have a variety of things.
Any other discussion, questions? And is there anyone that may be interested in filling that role at this point in time? Not to pressure, the reason I ask is it may be better off that we table this until we can connect with Scott, get a better idea of when the meetings are going to be, and so I'll make a motion to table
I'm sorry
this.
if you don't know what the actual calendar dates and times are. I haven't decided yet.
It's the Monday mornings.
Yeah, it's work.
Monday morning's 8:30. I know.
Okay.
It's not the easiest for everybody, so.
Shall we motion to table?
Sure.
Make a motion to table this until we can talk to Scott and get a final schedule.
I'll second that. Any discussion on tabling this motion? Seeing none, all of those in favor of tabling this motion until we have some more information? Thank you. It's unanimous. Moving on to number 7, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding approval of the district safety plans for the 2026-2027 school year. Do I have a motion?
Motion approved?
Thank you, Stephanie. Second? Thank you, Justin. I'll open the floor for discussion. We do have the plans available here, and like Mark had noted, they're available at the central office otherwise, if that's something that anybody wants to look at.
I see a couple.
Stephanie?
I think my discussion point is tangential. But I have been, obviously, Scott talked a little bit about the lack of of our sheriff coverage in the area. And I guess as a community member, that made total sense, and then it was kind of like oh wait, what does that mean for the schools? So, I mean, I think it's separate than this, but kind of related. I guess I would be interested in discussing or seeing if it was something like, what does it look like to have a school resource officer? Is that something that can be budgeted for this year? Do we need to wait for next year? Is that something we need? I don't know, I just think that, it might need to be a part of the conversation now that the landscape has changed.
I second that. I was gonna say the same
So I met with Sheriff Wainwright back in July after the vote happened in town to try and get a sense of, as questions come up, what is the right answer? What does this look like for change of response time? What does this look like for school safety situations? If there is not a deputy in town, which there could, we're in the zone, there might be somebody here, there isn't necessarily something designated here. He said the response time can vary between 5 and 25 minutes roughly. It would, if there were a situation where a call went out from the schools, it would go out to every agency. It may be a game warden that shows up first, it could be an off-duty officer, it could be somebody from Rumford or Paris or state trooper, it could be an Oxford County Sheriff Deputy. It could be the fire marshal who's in town. It's hard to know, but it would go out to everybody, it would be all hands on deck, and the first ones that get here would be the ones to respond first, and then it kind of go from there. So we would still have responses, it just wouldn't necessarily be an Oxford County deputy, might not be the first one on scene. They are still willing to be a part of our trainings. We do our lockdown drills. They are willing to work with us as far as different trainings going forward. We've had the same model now for almost 15 years. Other school districts do ALICE training, which is a different format type of training. Oxford County is willing to, if we want to, have some administrators go and get trained, a train-the-trainer type model to have different options to look at, we can do that. That is what all the local agencies are trained in, is ALICE format. So it's something we can discuss and discover. There aren't any grants right now for school resource officers. I know, depending on their different types of school resource officers, they are connected to the Sheriff's Department. Price tag either $75,000 or $135,000, depending on which way you go, and that depends on if there's a cruiser involved, if they work outside the school calendar with the department, or if they just are school-based. They would like to place somebody in each school system, district, but they don't necessarily have the staffing, so that's something that, if we want to entertain that, I would need to let them know probably in December or January, as we're starting to build our budget, that we're looking towards that, so that they can start looking at their staffing and putting somebody on board that'd be interested in doing something like that. So just, there's things to put in place, but as far as the start of this school year and what that looks like, that was the discussion. Just, I was getting asked, I didn't know the answer.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure what, so I wanted to have this sit down. They were gracious to sit down. We had about a 45-minute conversation, just to try and understand what our needs are. One of my big concerns was the school zone here in the morning and afternoons. It's amazing how much of the population turns a blind eye to the flashing lights. They don't even, if I had a radar gun, I know I can clock vehicles going through here 50 miles an hour on a regular basis. So for me, that's concerning, just for traffic turning in and out, and buses turning in and out on a regular basis. They said that if there's a deputy in the area, they try to prioritize school zones in the mornings when they're out and about. But there's not a guarantee without a designated person assigned to Bethel that if there's somebody in the area, they'll try to patrol the different school zones. So that's what you see. And it wasn't an everyday thing, even when we had the Bethel deputy. There wasn't someone able to be here every morning there anyway. It makes a difference. So as much as they can be there, the presence does. And the deputies we've had have been great because they are willing to pull people over. And when they see the blue lights, it has an impact. So That's also part of it. Um, So those are all discussions we can, if that's something, that we don't have in the budget for this year, it would have to be something to plan for the next school year, if you want to look at an SRO type position. And then we would just have to put money aside, inform them, and if they can find somebody, just because we have it in the budget doesn't mean we can fill it. So that's the other piece, hopefully we can, if that's the route we want to go, and if we don't, we see how this year goes, and kind of see if there's any changes. We are very lucky, for the most part, we don't have a lot of calls that involve law enforcement here at the schools. We haven't had that type of level of behavior. The few times they have come, I called them in, when I say we, administration's called them in to help with different investigations, a lot of times when things that are outside of school that come into school, mostly around technology, that's still in. And they come different times when we've had students in crisis and the ambulance has to come, they come as an escort and part of that, that's just standard procedure.
When schools have a resource officer, is that a full-time position? Because right now, we basically have somebody just out there in the morning, but they don't,
More.
I understand. But it's not like, we have never had a sheriff presence in school.
The last
So
time,
moving to us, like, if we have a school resource officer, that would be a situation where we now have a present officer on campus.
yes, yep. To serve the district, they would be a district,
Okay.
not an employee, but they would work in conjunction as a pseudo-employee staff member. They would work the administration, the schools, it would be one for the entire district, all 3 buildings, all 3 campuses, and figure out how to work with that. There's certain policies to enact and put in place for that, and procedures that, in our existence, we just haven't had it. The last time I can remember we had, there was 1 year, and it was still Bethel PD. They tried an SRO in this building, and it's been many years since we've had Bethel PD, and that lasted about a half a year, and then it wasn't a good fit with the person they put here. And that was the one and only attempt that I'm aware of that's ever occurred here. So that's one.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely be a big budget number, and it would be a big, I would be interested to know like what other responsibilities they would have and, what their presence on a day-to-day basis
Yeah.
looks like for students.
When I've talked to both Mountain Valley and Deergo, where they have SROs, they work with the administration, it's primarily at the middle school and high school, around attendance, truancy. They help make home visits with the administration or for the administration for kids who are having a hard time getting to school. They try to build as many positive interactions with the kids at the elementary level and the middle school, high school, just being a presence in the hallway. They participate and volunteer in as much as they can because they are trying to make sure they are part of the positive side of things, that they are there if there's any situation. So the one thing that what I learned in this process is that you have to have very clear policies and procedures as to when they intervene and when they don't. And it's not, you have to have those things in place so that it's something working in conjunction with the administration and not interfering, getting in the way of certain things. So we have a lot of examples around it, we just have not done it here.
I mean, my honest, elephant in the room, worst case scenario is that if we have a catastrophic situation and the nearest cop is 25 minutes away, that's not good. Really, really not good, and that's what we're, I'd rather have a resource officer here that can respond to Crescent Park in a catastrophic situation than in Buckfield. And I guess that's, I think the everyday stuff is good and, I think that it is important, to prevent car accidents and whatnot, but the 1 in a million catastrophic event, that's really scary.
You had mentioned grants, is that something that typically you come across from time to time as a grant that could cover?
There
something
weren't
else
any
or partial?
state grants this year.
Okay.
There were a couple federal grants that were due July 1st. And it was right after the vote, the town vote, so I did not get one in.
Yep.
But those are, they give out so much money per year across the country for those federal grants. And they're good for only a year at a time.
Okay, that's every year.
Yeah.
I mean, the town of Bethel just saved a lot of money.
I mean, the SRO officer would be at least $180,000 line,
Yeah.
because we had 4 in the, that, like, we had 4 officers for Bethel.
Right.
And this would be 1, so that would be a quarter of that, at least a quarter of that cost.
So right now, what the sheriff's department works with the other districts in our area is between 75 and 135,000 per year, depending on what level of officer involvement they have. Because some are just school year, others
yeah,
work
that's
year
true.
round, some work vacations, and some are they go back to the agency that they coordinate with. So that's different things. I was always told the 135, but there is a new version. It's not cheaper than 75,000 minimum.
Andrew?
Is there any situation where willing and qualified staff could carry a firearm for the catastrophic event where someone's 25 minutes away?
Not currently. We're not allowed to have, unless you have a badge, you're not allowed to have any kind of.
I understand that.
So it was discussed. It was discussed actually during the LePage administration that he was looking to put people in schools with firearms, and it didn't gain traction. That was the first and only time it's ever come up. But right now there are no programs to arm staff members in the
It hasn't
buildings.
been done somewhere else, nowhere.
Not in this state.
Brian?
Quickly looking through, it needs a relook because of our new no cell phone policy. It's a couple pages that mention grab your phone and go.
For staff.
For
For kids, okay.
Yep. So just a relook through of with the new policy.
Okay.
Not that they'll read it, but it's in there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Justin?
I would like to see us look more into the Alice training that anyone else around us does.
I've done the Alice training. I'm not saying I'm going to get it, but I have taken it. It actually is very good.
What does ALICE stand for?
Don't remember.
I have to Google it.
It says,
I can't
yeah.
remember. But it just, so like we practice, I don't know what the name of it is, but
So we do,
Active shooter training,
Right.
essentially.
it's more fight and flight, Alice training, and our training has shifted to be more of a hybrid. When originally we first started 15 years ago, so it was all hunkered down, locked down, and nobody left ever. And now it's, if we know where an incident's happening, so if you use this building for an example, if we know something's up in the art wing, we can evacuate this end of the building and get them out. It's not everybody stays in the building for an
Right.
undisclosed amount of time, which is a change. The other change was now we also have teachers barricade their door, kids do move and flip furniture. We never did that in the beginning, just everybody went over in the corner and sat in a huddle. And a few years back, when Mr. Parker when Scott was still doing the training, he came and we did laser angles through all the windows in the classrooms to try and see exactly what the zones were as to where were the safe zones or not in classrooms, so teachers could actually see and understand where to move the kids if there were a situation to come up. The other piece now is also train the kids to put a book or a desk, something between them and the door, have something in their hands, be ready to throw things if somebody comes to the door type thing. Those are all similar to Alice training. The biggest difference with Alice training is at the minute that you have a situation, they don't really go into lockdown. It's get out, find the nearest exit, and everyone just runs and scatters and gets out of the building type thing. And so there are two camps of thought in that, and the training that we always had was not in that regard. In the beginning, it is now shifted, so that is part of, if we think we can do it safely, to make announcements and to communicate. We have a system that most places don't have. We use a communication Google Doc that all the teachers are on and can see and get messages and know what's going on in the building and see what's happening. Between text threads and that Google Doc, that is very important. We are lucky to have all the cameras that we do internally and externally of our buildings, which makes it possible to monitor things. State police and the sheriff's department also have access to all those cameras, so they can see that as well. And then they can get access to the Google Docs if something were to come up as needed. So we have the systems in place to go through it, but if Alice training is something that we've never actually done it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Actual.
not saying a full switch, but it would be nice, I mean, if they're offering to get
Right,
some
and
of
to
our
truly
teachers
know
trained, then
what
I
it
think
offers
it's
and
more
what,
benefit.
you know, if we can hybridize and make the one that works best, what we think is in place, and that's definitely something we can do. There's a slight cost involved with that. There's some grant money through the county to do some of the training. But usually what they've done is that they train a couple people in each district to be internal trainers. And then you work with Oxford County EMA and the local law enforcement agencies to annual re-up type thing.
So with considering questions and considerations regarding the new cell phone policy, I don't think we should be considering teacher phone removals if they're part of the safety protocol. Just saying, before I forget. You know, I know it's come up a couple of times, and we haven't done anything about it yet, but they should have access if that's a big part of the safety code.
All those cameras, Mark, none of those got the firework bandits?
So,
That's a
No.
yes or no? Yeah,
No.
okay. So, maybe we don't have all of these cameras where we should.
we had the cameras. We did not have the working server.
Oh, that's how we figured out our server was wrong?
Yes.
Figure that out.
It's fixed now. It was a prior to have it fixed. So when you look at the cameras, they're working. But the servers were down. We didn't know that, so there was no recordings. So all we had was live feed. So unfortunately, we had cameras in places where we could have seen the parking lot. We couldn't see the fields. We don't have anything on the fields. But we couldn't see anyone coming around the building because all we had was live feed. And it wasn't known because no one was watching cameras in the summertime, so
Is that a plan that should be in effect to make sure those are recording regularly?
it might be. It just wasn't something we had thought about in the summertime. It's just, it hadn't happened. So
Great
now
reminder.
we're gonna have to, well, we also know that we have aging systems. And so trying to monitor them differently than we have in the past, with replacements coming.
Have they been checked again? So,
Yes.
Planning to set off some fireworks.
Good test it out. A security check.
no,
Not
I
for fun.
mean, I think these things are pretty valid and.
No,
like all
yeah,
these.
we have cameras and yet they'll give us
Yeah,
any
we
information.
get live feed, you get home to watch the grass grow, but at night when they're ruining our field.
So we have no cloud support for backups.
These cameras are all housed in the server here. The system that's in place is local server, not cloud-based. As we look to replace systems as we go forward, the goal will be go cloud-based so that we don't have to worry about that. It's just an extra backup player. It's a blessing and a curse. We have a lot of camera systems in all our buildings that are all put in with Homeland Security money. at a similar time, which means they're all gonna be coming out of usefulness about the same time, and it's a big expense. And so trying to find ways to be proactive about those things, so we don't end up in a situation where we be reactive, is gonna be something that we're talking about in our capital improvement plan. Because technology doesn't get cheaper.
Security cameras are pretty cheap.
Cameras are cheaper. It's the servers that. So, right now in this building, we have, as we've been replacing the cameras, we've been putting in a different system that is cloud-based, so over time it's shifting. So right now, this building, different than the other two, has two different systems for vape detectors and cameras because of that. Doing a slow process versus a wholesale.
Is vaping a big problem?
Yes.
Are we gonna get some cell phone detectors?
I don't know. Until we think that until we can think that there's a problem, I think we're gonna have to wait and see how the storage lockers and the new law plays out, and give everyone a chance to adjust until we know what other measures might have to be looked at.
Any other discussion, questions, comments?
Sure. I know from attending all of the meetings related to the sheriff's vote and before and after, I think the major sentiment of it getting unfunded was more had to do with communication and response with the county and an idea of us not getting what we were paying for. None of the conversation really was about level of service or, the actual sheriffs themselves. I know that I was at the meeting when they read the letter that you wrote. So there's definitely support of having sheriffs here. I think the feeling in Bethel is that Bethel is subsidizing the county. We were the only town left doing extended service. No other town in the county was doing that. And so, we're subsidizing the county and then also subsidizing Newbury, Woodstock, Greenwood in terms of just paying to have sheriffs here that can quickly get to anyone else. So my guess is it would be, if the idea was that we wanted to have some sort of presence with the school, that puts the cost sharing on all four of us. And I think it would be a very different conversation than, what was happening before. And I know also, I think there was discussion of getting some sort of committee to get together to discuss what we wanted safety to look like in this region. So if this is something people really care about, that might be something, I'm assuming it wouldn't just be Bethel people, that they'd be open to any school board member being on that, if and when it actually, I don't know if they're moving forward with that, but that was the intention, is to have a broader conversation of what do we want safety, what does safety mean in our community, and so people understand.
I don't know about anyone else, but I can't put a value on safety of my children. And that's how I look at it.
Yeah, I don't think that the Bethel sheriff we were paying for necessarily immediately, if that's the real concern, then we should probably be talking about it as a school district and paying for it as a for town. I think that was the big, I know one of the select people particularly that voted to keep it, her reason was for the schools to have it.
I think the idea is I wouldn't mind paying extra taxes to have it either. I have no problem with fair share. If the cart before the horse was the issue, I think, for a lot of people. We pulled it and we had no backup plan, and we might have a committee.
But it was, yeah, it
That
was
was
a
the
discussion
thing.
for a whole year,
Yeah.
so I just we had an entire year, it almost didn't pass 2 years ago, it only passed by 2 votes, so we're here now because we didn't do anything when it almost failed, so.
Any further discussion, comments?
Can I ask a clarifying question? As far as the plans go, if I go through and edit the student cell phone pieces to match
I mean,
the
it's like
law?
about 4 minutes to read about 100 pages, so outside of that, yeah, you're good. That was the number one thing I was looking for with cell phones, because it's on most documents to have a cell phone for emergencies. You can call and use it. And then you don't have to edit it, you can just upload the document to something else to edit it.
Alright. Well, that being the case, all of those in favor of approval of the district safety plans for the 2026-2027 school year? It's unanimous, thank you. Motion passes. Number 8, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding the approval of the curriculum director's recommendation of the district curriculum leaders for the 2026-2027 school year. K through 5 ELA, Lisa Haynes. K through 5 math, Samantha Grosso. K through 5 social studies, Karen Puya. K through 5 science, Crystal Gould. 6 through 12 math, Dave Lynch. 6 through 8 ELA, Lori Davis. 6 through 8 social studies, Specialist Kellum. 6 through 8 science, Peter Hedden. 9 through 12 ELA, Melissa Poston. 9 through 12 social studies, Dave LeClaire. 9 through 12 science, Elka Blouse. K through 5 specialists, Ashley Broderick. And 6 through 12 specialists, Tara Abraham. Do I have a motion?
Motion approved.
Thank you, Stephanie. Second. Thank you, Destiny. Now open the floor for discussion on this motion. If there is any. Brian?
Question, do these all get a stipend as well?
Yes.
Okay, second part question to that. Why is there 5 people that do 6 through 12 and 3 that do just 6 through? Do they get double stipends for doing middle and high school, or is it one stipend to do all grades, and why do we have it split in some and not others?
Currently in the TEA Schedule B contract, it is 2 stipends because they were combined after the contract was negotiated. The goal is in the next round of negotiations that this building comes all 6 through 12.
Okay.
With the departments getting smaller over time, they were never adjusted.
Okay.
And so that is what we're working toward. We can't change that because it's part of the Schedule B in the contract. That has to go into the next negotiations.
Are the 2 6 through 12 new this year? Were they last year?
They were last year as well.
They were combined this year.
Another question. What's specialist?
So all your art, music, phys ed,
Just asking.
art, music, phys ed, and foreign language
Special.
in this building.
Special. I mean, that could everything's special now.
Fair question.
That's it. I only have 3.
Yeah. Elementary, they call them specialists. Middle school, high school, they call them UAs. It's all the same.
Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the curriculum director's recommendation for district curriculum leaders for the 2026-2027 school year? Thank you, it's unanimous. Number 9, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding entering a workshop session to draft board goals for the 2026-2027 school year in accordance with policy ADA, school district goals and objectives. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Destiny. Second. Thank you, Amy. We'll open the floor for discussion to begin the workshop. The purpose of this evening's workshop
Do we have
is...
to vote to go into the workshop? And then-
Oh, yes, true. Thank you, Destiny. We absolutely do. Yeah, thank you. All of those in favor of entering into a workshop to discuss board goals? Thank you, it's unanimous. Thank you, Destiny.
Break fire.
The purpose of this evening's workshop is to draft board goals for the 2026-27 school year in accordance with policy ADA, school district goals and objectives. Establishing clear, measurable goals for the board will focus the work that we do and allow for efficient and effective governance of the district. The board will set annual goals, share them publicly, and regularly evaluate progress. The goals established by the school board will provide direction for the superintendent's goals for the upcoming year, and in turn, will also provide guidance for administration in setting their goals. The primary objective for tonight's workshop would be to establish 3 to 5 average annual board goals aligned with our statutory and policy standards that would directly address the core gaps identified in the 2026 board self-evaluation that we have completed. And the focus of our discussion tonight should be on high-level governance, board governance rather than administrative tactics. And some outcomes for this evening's workshop would be 1, a draft set of measurable goals for the upcoming school year. We won't necessarily have a final product, but pretty close to is what the hope is for tonight. 2, a plan to assign goal oversight to specific committees with mid-year and year review benchmarks. And 3, a strategy for public communication of the approved goals. Our main focus for the evening. Following the workshop discussion, we'll refine wording on the board's drafted goals and ensure the will of the board is accurately reflected. We'll then move the drafted goals to a regular board meeting for formal vote and adoption. Once the board goals have been established, the superintendent and administration can develop operational objectives tied to the approved goals. And at this point in time, the board will publish their goals in multiple forums decided upon by the board to ensure community awareness and build support. I have some materials that I will pass out to you guys that will be helpful in this discussion, I hope. And in these packets that are getting distributed, you have a copy of policy ADA, the school district goals and objectives, a copy of policy BCA, the board member code of ethics. There is a document titled MSAD 44, the Board of Directors Annual Self-Evaluation. And this is the summarized feedback that we had gleaned that you've seen before from the self-evaluations that were completed by board members. There is a sheet, policy BBA, board self-evaluation. And this is notes from our meeting on 6/15 where we discussed the goals and objectives. And the last page, I plugged all of the information, the sheets that I had mentioned beforehand into AI. It's a suggested directive track for some of the goals based on all of that information, the discussions we had, the surveys we did, the policies we follow. So just a suggestion, some guidance based on the work we've done thus far. Because we've really done a lot of the legwork for these goals at our last meeting. So now would be, we're just making sure we're all focused on the same direction and okay, perfect. All right. And I apologize too. Ideally, I should have gotten this information to you beforehand. None of it is really new information, but still, moving forward, I will try to give you a little more time to digest. But I was hoping that it would be helpful to have these materials on hand as we have this discussion. When you've had a moment to digest some of it, perhaps a decent jumping off point would be that last page, the suggested directives, to see if that aligns with where we're heading or.
Erin, can you repeat the 3 things you said at the beginning of my
Absolutely.
what we're trying to accomplish right now?
Like the outcomes?
Yeah.
Absolutely. A draft set of measurable board goals for the upcoming school year.
Okay.
A plan to assign goal oversight to specific committees with mid-year and end-of-year review benchmarks. Right. And a strategy for public communication of the approved goals. Brian?
On the code of ethics, the only thing that is not public is executive sessions, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so everything else is public. Just wanna confirm.
Yes. And the directives provided were structured primarily around what we had identified as gaps. And points for, board to concentrate their work.
So, I don't have any, this is more of a thought. Obviously, we talked a lot about student achievement, and data tracking and those sorts of things. I've been thinking a lot about that since our last meeting and what that looks like and what that means. And obviously, that's something that's going to be, probably spearheaded by the education committee. What I want to be careful and conscious of is I don't want to become so driven solely by standardized testing data. And I don't know what that answer is. I don't know what the solution to that is, but thinking of other creative ways to track progress, success, those sorts of things that aren't necessarily, we now look at NWEA scores, and if NWEA scores are no longer, or are not good, then that is bad. And I'm sure there's thinking and pedagogy about it, I just don't know what that is.
I completely agree. It's definitely a measure, but not huge.
And there was a bit of talk of the boards that we construct as a collective, the goals that we construct as a collective board would provide a lot of direction, and there would be goal setting at the committee level as well, too. So maybe that some of the objectives that we outline are, tasking certain committees with a deeper dive or focus or however you will.
Can you clarify, this is goals for this group,
Yes,
not goals for our district?
it's,
Like we had the goals last year of like improving attendance and those things. That's not this, right? Or is it?
the district, the board goals and district goals are essentially one and the same, and then from that, Mark would build his goals, and it would provide directive for administration from there. I'm not sure if that answers.
This is supposed to be how we can operate better as a board
Like
versus,
are we setting goals for us as a unit to improve, or are we setting goals like we had a good goal for attendance, like I feel like last year's attendance was probably the most successful of our goals, where we like had a goal, we measured it, we had actions that is separate from this? Or no? Is
Not
this
necessarily,
what-
because it could be that our goals are we have some, one goal focuses on internal work as a board and as a collective body, but another might be more directive for district-wide.
Are you asking, Beth, are you asking us like what district projects to work on? The board wants to drive like a focus area for a project work?
Okay, no, cause I'm pulling the goals from our self-evaluation data, I feel like these 3 tracks are really related to us and our work. And so maybe we wanna have one of the goals for the district be related to that, but that our other 2 goals for the district might be higher level things, I guess. I wanna make sure we're not setting like 3 goals that are like just related to our work, if that's not the intention.
Right, right.
And I don't think that's the
And
intention.
that is not the
Okay.
intention, no. Brian?
I'm not gonna go completely against what Steph said, because I was terrible at standardized test. However, I will say the most activity I saw on Facebook and people talking was when Telstar got a really high ranking, and people got excited. And then us as board members, we also didn't really know where we stood as far as how our students are doing for a while. I think the community is missing that piece as far as like, how is the school doing? And the pride of when we're doing well, and then the pressure on parents of when we're not, being able to see those numbers. I think communicating that on the website and having that more open, I think is an important piece of it as well. Because maybe it will pressure some parents to be like, oh, I thought my kid was doing good, but I guess it's a whole I need to be more attentive.
It's certainly the most measurable,
It's easy to measure it.
you know,
I don't want to be the one who goes up to show.
yeah. But, you know, yeah, it's, I think we come up on it every year, it's like, it's the most measurable. It's easy to have the data to push out, but at the same time, it's putting all of the kids' success on one day in their test.
And you could have
Always
a
kind of
bad
fun.
breakfast that day.
Yeah, breakfast,
So what day
crappy
is that?
home, whatever it is, like, it just shouldn't always just be that, although it's the easiest and.
I think you have a consistent annual comparison with that as one of your pieces. As you're saying, you might want to look what other measures could go with that. Paint the picture, not just looking at one test on one day.
And in
I think
general,
that's what you're saying.
in general communication, I mean, our website's rough to navigate and find things. Like as far as like, it's probably about 15-year-old modernized versus what it is nowadays. And I've gone looking for things and I've had scary
Getting better.
matches. I'm not blaming, I'm just saying,
No.
like, that's
Yeah.
what
With-
communication, having a section of actual academic achievements and then a sports section and then
Where find the
other
helpful
sections.
information you really want to find and know and see and get
Yeah,
to.
but I think that stuff needs to be more available and easy to find for people to see that want to see it.
The question is defining how we measure and get and collect and share and compare year to year outside of tests.
With tests, including
Of
tests.
course,
Yeah.
always include tests, but not just the goal. So then,
There's gotta be something.
of course,
So, yeah.
they're getting report cards all the time from teachers who are using standards-based grading and it's a whole collective report card. I mean, there has to be a way to use that to also have a day-to-day look at student success versus just, I mean, this test allows year to year, state to state, you know, I get how easy it is, but it is one day. And one day that a lot of kids stress out about.
Well, I mean, for tonight, we're only setting goals, so our first goal can be some fancy word for better tracking student data and success. And then at the education committee, I guess we can just hash out what the measures are.
Yeah, I like, that's the question. Is the question, our goal is to better look at data, or is our goal to improve the data?
Yeah, I don't know.
And so like, in theory, I would like the goal to be to improve our student achievement, not just check our student achievement, but I also like, we can't, if we're not checking our student achievement, then we don't, then we can't set a goal to improve it, so I don't.
I'm confused now as well.
Destiny.
If I had maybe the focus question on the suggested directive for each track 1, track 2, track 3, is helping me kind of better understand like what we had talked about at the last meeting.
It kind of encapsulates
It
each of the
kinda-
areas that
yeah,
we focus,
the
and
different
doesn't lay out a
areas
goal,
and
it gives us, hey, you identified this as an issue, perhaps this is a stepping point for, exactly, if you look at the focus question of each of the tracks, especially track 2 in particular, focuses a lot on what we're speaking about now.
Right now, yeah. And since we come up with goals that kind of answered those 3 questions.
I mean, that one seems like the easiest to set a goal on maybe, because it could be like, you know, okay, we're setting goals now. So like our plan is to set goals to review, you know, those goals, having like specific dates in the year that we're coming back to the goals. You know, are we gonna have committees also? I mean, I don't know what the goals are yet, but like,
I think once you know what your goals are, it'd be easier to set the time frame
it's like,
when you want to check in.
Can I throw out a goal? Digital communication. Improve digital communication in our district. I think that would help us tremendously, just in general. The goal to, you can have it be measurable, you can have oversight on it, but just overall.
Like website.
Literally, well, I mean, if you have a good website, you can feed almost everything else from that, because it can automatically feed a lot of other communication you have going out.
What engagement on social and
Just
all
start
things.
with the basic website and then go from there, because once you have that laid out right, and you have a hub that everything can work out of.
Well, we identify community engagement and communication as a weak point too.
Yeah.
So perhaps the digital aspect is just a component of that too, because I do feel there's a lot of layers, and once we do establish our goals, that should be abundantly clear to administration, students, staff, everybody. That way, you know, we need to know what our directive is, and they do as well, especially if there's so much stems from it.
You need everything in one centralized place, and then you can start feeding other things that are more specialized. You need that easy to navigate and see and pull things from.
Yeah, I feel like that's what like number 3 on here. I feel like all 3 of these seem great. I really like this document. What I'm having a hard time is figuring out how to word it into a goal. And I don't know how to
Right.
Yeah, like how to take this, like, you know, the drafting prompt says formulate a goal to create a public facing document. Okay, so how does that become a goal? Like, I don't even know. I'm not even sure how to start that. So what?
Make a motion.
No, but like what's the language? Like,
Well, is it just taking formulate a goal to out? Create a public facing document? I mean, like,
That is the goal.
that is the goal.
Right.
I feel like I feel like
Right.
Second
You can have
tier goal.
objectives that address each digital, you
Right.
know, community events, whatever it may be.
is the app something people engage with? Do we work on that,
There's an app.
on that?
I just found out about it last year.
I use the app.
I use,
Yeah,
it just seems like it
The app
got
doesn't have as much
dropped
as the
or
website.
something.
It doesn't have as much as the website. The app is basically calendar, sports schedules, and documents. It's limited in the scope. Not most things on the website.
okay.
So maybe that could be, I mean, that's secondary to the website. Maybe if we're gonna do that, we do all the work on the website, a lot of that information could be just on people's apps, since that's the world in which we live.
I agree the website is that something we need to have budgeted money for? I guess is a different question. Like if we wanted to work on improving the website, is that even a feasible?
We have students smarter than us.
We have
and that's-
students that can do that in some class, I'm sure.
Yep,
what class?
How do we,
This,
ChatGPT says to establish a consistent, transparent, and proactive communication strategy that ensures families, staff, students, and community members have timely access to important school board and district information through multiple channels. I mean, that would mean that we have to work on all the channels, right? I mean, essentially, so. I feel like any of these goals, quickly type into ChatGPT to come up with and then just change it to fit our district.
Make sure it has 5 fingers.
I'm not doing pictures.
Just be a smart goal, like time frames,
So maybe we don't get hung up on the wording, since that is essentially in a lot of the questions, but we focus more so on the objectives, because that's what we're looking for, is like this, you know, direction and tangible information that.
So we have digital communication, collecting and sharing out of student achievement, district.
To expand and clearly define communication channels, including email, district website, social media, and community forums.
Mark's newsletter was a good start last year, and we talked about including charity reports. Some bits from that, so people understand what each section's working on. I thought that was a good piece to kind of build off of.
And does that share out things, you know, number of honor rolls for each building, or high honor rolls, or whatever they are, like a little box. Is that a way of regularly sharing out success?
We could like do the
In a little
attendance,
box.
the attendance boxes.
Yeah, like the attendance box, but only, honor roll, I forget what they got, there's stuff on the roll, there's
It's only those for high school, right?
only middle school, right? That's it.
We could do, I mean,
Measurable.
It's
Something that
measurable.
we can go ahead
It doesn't have to list everybody, just the number. I mean, they get listed anyway in separate,
yes.
communication.
and get a student from each
It's
school.
important,
and
isn't
have a
it?
board in there too.
What did you say?
Pick a student from each school to put a,
Feature.
put a, yeah, put a blurb in there. Favorite thing this month. Is that monthly mark or quarterly?
No,
No.
I try to do it
I got that
last
so
year.
often, I just
My goal
thought
is to
there
do
was
it
something-
per trimester. I got 2 out instead of 3 last year.
It's passing back in the day. I had more guard stuff apparently.
The goal is to try and do it. We started late because schools were late, but the idea would be to do it with the trimester breaks. So it's 3 times a year. It just helps, I need a time frame for my own self to know how to pull stuff together. And so it's also not too old news by the time it gets out.
I just like how there's so many different nuggets all in one place without having to hunt down all the things. It's just like a quick snapshot of. It's like for communication with community. People care about different things.
I think I can say, I feel like we all probably agree that all 3 of these seem like good categories, right? Now we're more like the
Yeah,
how and the
exactly.
wordsmithing of it
Yep.
and,
What are you picking, how are you measuring it?
yeah, well, and how specific, because I feel like, if I understand right, it's like, we have the overarching goal, and then you work with administrators, Mark, like, the board is setting the goals, but then you're working with the administrators to set specific, like, objectives of how to accomplish those stated goals.
The achievement piece will come.
And using the committees to kind of do that too. And where it makes sense, I mean, obviously it doesn't always make sense. You know, coming up with a new website doesn't make sense in the committee, but, the educational.
I don't know if we can throw this in with the student achievement, and that sort of thing, but, I also think it would be a disservice to, just ignore attendance.
Yeah, I agree. I think, no, I feel like keeping the whatever our goal was last year and,
You know, because that isn't like checkbox problem solved, you know, I think that's kind of a,
Administration says that's a 5-year
yeah,
strategic plan for themselves, so each year so that's something that they're continuing to track.
yeah, and I mean, the years go quick, so I don't think there's anything wrong with having a multi-year goal.
well, and then number 1, the strategic direction, like, I mean, that's not something that that's something we're doing. It almost seems like an extra goal, or just us trying to do what we're supposed to do. I feel like continuing to have an attendance goal would be important. So if that's an addition, like a 4th thing here, right?
So when I place number 2, it says to focus on monitoring achievement trends, growth, opportunity gaps, and the effectiveness of academic supports. I feel like those are all things that we would want to collect data around. And I like the idea of opportunity gaps, not just necessarily, and growth, not just necessarily standardized test scores. Makes that the same. I think that's gonna be doing all.
Would you say, like, so tracking of the ELO opportunities, Region 9
Yeah, I feel like,
components,
Yeah.
looking at a lot of the electives, tracking some of those types of things, those are tangible things you can look at with numbers and just see who's doing what.
no, I don't think, I mean, we were talking about that, that position at one point at Woodstock and tracking things that, relate to that even. And those are the things that we can track.
Yeah, I think in general, tracking what we're spending more to the students' education would be helpful, so like, for me, the second one, if you come up with what the data is, whatever that is, what's the process for the board to review, what's the process for the education committee to come up with information for the finance committee during the budget process that's based on that student data, that
It'd be
kind
so
of
helpful.
all ties together. Brent?
For number one, could we just assign subcommittees to put down their top goal that they want to get out of it, and that can be our strategic goals for the board as a whole? And that kind of sums up a lot of the stuff we're working on, like.
Each committee submit one.
Yeah, subcommittees are part of the board goals, facilities, we're working on a long-term plan, like, we get 7 years mapped out by the end of this year with our partner, to know how we're gonna start fixing things, replacing things, stuff like that.
I agree with you. I think
Yeah.
number one has a lot to do with the subcommittees, but I also think it has to do with how we share information, which I think could be improved on. We talked a lot about that, so.
No, you said you agreed, I was looking at
I was excited. But I think, like sharing the agendas ahead of time, who's on the committee, sharing that also with the community. I think our little snippet at the meetings isn't enough to share. I think there could be more done electronically maybe, but also more at the meetings that we share what we're doing and how we all work together, because that's one of the pieces that I think is missing.
Maybe more like a formal, overview of what's being talked about in each committee versus just like a quick, each one of us, whoever's.
And seeing the
Chair
agendas,
presents.
seeing,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
the
kind of two
minutes.
different things, it's like what we did and what we talked about, and then like the education committee, for example, things that we mine out of it, like what's going on.
Yeah.
Like where is the information and data that we can share out as well.
Maybe just a flowing Google Docs, with everyone.
I mean, I know we have a certain amount of time to share how
Sometimes
we get along.
yeah.
If we are, a little more focused, meeting, we do it with, or whatever. Brain needs bouncing. Yeah, then we can do both and share out the information as well as reporting out on what we talked about.
And sharing out might allow us also with like a built-in periodic check-in as well.
Right.
Andrew?
Mark, was EMC, they do weekly or bi-weekly updates, right?
They will be once we start projects,
And is
yes.
that available,
It'll go on the website.
like a link that goes
Yep.
to their thing?
Yeah, there'll be a chart and a progress monitor part to the website once we start projects.
If you guys aren't familiar with that, the company hired us, like, they're really good about listing their goals and a lot of pictures and information on what they did every week.
I've talked about this a little bit with, within the education committee and whatnot, and I guess I'd be interested in potentially looking at like a reworking of the education committee in general. I think it kind of has an undefined role a little bit right now, and it seems like that's where a lot of the gaps really are, kind of hiding. For example, the policy committee is reviewing policies, and then the outcome of that is policies come to board meetings. So action is being made. The facilities committee is reviewing projects, making decisions on projects, and action is being taken. Finance and negotiation obviously is meeting, making financial decisions, and actions is being taken. The education committee kind of has this cushy little job where we just sit there and get nice presentations from nice folks in the district, and we say, looks like you're doing a really great job. like, keep on keeping on. And it's nice, and like, you know, as a parent and as a community member, like, and as somebody that's clearly interested in education, like, it's nice to get those presentations, but there's no action, and I'm not saying I want that action to be, you know, Stephanie Kerr, Chair of the Education Committee, reviews the science curriculum and makes decisions on whether or not that's appropriate curriculum to be teaching. Like, that's not at all what I think the role of the Education Committee should be, but I guess I don't know what the solution is. Like, you know, there's nothing that comes out, there's no decisions that come out of the Education Committee, but I'm not sure, I don't know. There should be, because we're not like, I would rather leave that to the subject area experts, but it's also clear that this is where a lot of the gaps are coming from.
And the numbers we're talking about getting and define, like, drilling down more, will give you some more information on where you should be driving your focus.
Yeah, it's just kind of a confusing little committee.
You guys just think
Oh,
it's-
so follow that.
We do
thought.
sometimes
No, but
have
so say we identify, like, I guess that's what we don't know. So yeah, following that thought. So we looked at math, you know, we looked at some multi-year data last year. What should we do next? Well, I think that's what we don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
like, is it drilled down all the way to subject levels?
Some of what we've seen. I mean, I think part of it is like figuring out what data we want to see more of.
Not just standardized tests, but, I mean, you guys have access to, like, just actual student data for grades in general, for like classes drilled down? Well, not like it with names, but like overall
I think
grades.
I think we could get, like, we would need to ask.
That's it.
That's
Working on it, right.
That's, I think we were asking for that. Is that end of last year?
But
But
then
then
outside?
what we do, like outside of the testing, you know how most
Yeah,
say,
yeah,
like,
like
we
the
do
actual
outside of the
grades.
testing, outside of the grades. So we've been talking about, for sure, it's just like, how do we act once we get all the data? And we're like,
Like, what do you want us to
we're
do?
not really in any position to be like, well.
Pressure that guy and tell him what's going on with this.
Yeah, well, I mean, clearly we do that, but it's just not as quite as defined as the others. I also think it's really important that we get those presentations so we understand, but then I wish everybody could understand.
Yeah, totally.
You know, like the ELOs and you know, it's all super important because it's part of our district and it's what makes us different and special and successful for a lot of our kids. But we're getting it, and then the people we talk to are getting it if they ask us questions as board members, but it's not really being shared out.
Well, okay, so maybe Meredith already answered this a little bit though, because like, okay, so if we're identifying a gap, right? So we say we're actually looking at the data and we're like, oh, we are really decreasing in our achievement in whatever it is. However, whatever data we're looking at, whether it's tests or just standard grades or something. I guess in theory then we are somehow communicating that to finance, who then is like, we need to fund a math coach
Well, I think there's
or.
a step in between. I think you need to go back to the administration and say, how do we fix this area and get their recommendations and then go to the finance.
Wait, can we disconnect it?
Well, correct. We've identified that there's, you know, data sharing's a bit weak and there's a gap in communication, and perhaps that's a focus of the education committee, is how to take the information in those presentations that you all see and to communicate that to the full board and beyond somewhat, not to, you know, put a mountain of a task before you, but it seems like that's a stopping point
Anybody have
for
any
sure.
form?
Just kidding. But it does, because it seems as if a lot of the information and the data that you're presented at the education committee isn't conveyed throughout the other subcommittees throughout, and that provides a lot of the information for the work that we do, the assessment of where we're at, where our programs are at, our students. Ryan?
When she had on the desktop call, I wish she was here for this, you'd love it. The standardized testing thing, I do agree, it's not the end all be all, the grades and everything involved, but it is us training kids for when they leave the school district and what the real world is. And sometimes there is deadlines and there's things you have to hit, and knowing where the deficiencies are. Just because they're doing bad on a day, how do we train a kid to do better the next time for that standardized test? So it's not an end all be all number, but it will help identify how we need to get these kids to learn how to deal with that. stressing.
The standardized testing data isn't going anywhere because honestly,
Yeah.
it's the easiest data to pull
Yeah,
from
of
public
course.
schools. So like that is always gonna
It's
be
just the
data
way we
that's
put out
used.
there.
Exactly, it's the emphasis. Is it 50% of our focus? Is it 75% of our focus? Right now, honestly, I think it's 100% of our focus because we don't have any other data to review.
But you can, I mean, if you get the grades as well, you can look at side by side, like the grades match up with the testing, it's low and low.
Yeah.
Or the grades are high, these kids are all getting A's in 8th grade English, but on their standardized test, they can barely read.
Yeah.
So like, you can also see if things are not lining up as well.
Well, and there's larger curriculum goals that are happening too with, Brian has some new work that's happening with curriculum review and stuff, so I think this all goes hand in hand. With what that curriculum review looks like, you know, a lot of that comes into, okay, what curriculum are we purchasing at that point? Is this worth continuing to purchase? So, I do think that that's, kind of goes along with some of the other district work that's already happening. But yeah, I don't think anybody's saying that they want standardized testing to fully go away, I just want to be able to look at the whole student, yeah.
The whole student, yeah, because you can't be making decisions only on one day of the year.
Right.
It just doesn't seem fair.
3 bar graphs.
Should stay there, be part of it, but.
So what'd you come up with after all that time? What do you got?
Like the law,
Well, what's the data we review, that's reviewed, and what's the process for reviewing it and reporting it to the, like, who reviews it and what's the process for taking action?
But I guess I could go back to what we just said about the, you know, committee level goals. Like, it's clear that, you know, so maybe at each of our first meetings, we workshop what our goal is. And it seems like the education committee needs to spend the time workshopping what the goal around curriculum, data, you know, all of our,
we could shift some of the presentations we've done in the education committee to the whole board. And use the time of the committee to do the deeper dive on the data instead, so that way everyone gets the information. So that's my
they're super interesting. Like, I enjoy going to education committee. I don't want to make it seem like I don't enjoy it. I just don't feel useful. You know, like nobody in the business world likes going to a meeting with no action items and there
Well,
is,
also I think it's weird that only we know a lot of the stuff.
yeah.
Like, we get these presentations and we like know things that are happening, but to me, I find that strange that then we like vote on a budget or vote on other things as a whole board, but I don't know that we all have the same.
Well, and I think that's why we tried to do a better job at like going to the, you know, finance committee meetings and stuff so that we can share and add our, you know, our perspective and that, you know, like, oh, we did learn about this and this is what I found and this is important, so.
So maybe there's also an end of the year, information for all that. But the end of the year, where then before the budget starts, maybe not the end of the year, but
Could be your senior
with
project.
some way of connecting budget to a goal, our education community.
I mean, it could also be another piece of it. It could be as simple as whatever presentation you see is shared with the whole board before the next board meeting. Same thing with whatever the proposal of in the finance committee that we get of the budget considerations from each administrator. Those are shared with the whole board before the next meeting, and they can review and ask questions. Those, I mean, it could just be, that could be another.
part of that by sharing agenda minutes from the committees, so everybody
Yeah.
could be a part of
I think that
that.
should be
Just
the goal.
starting
The goal should be all agendas and minutes. That needs to be
District.
a focus goal.
And post it to the public.
And that's an easy one for us all to agree on.
So I do feel kind of gatekeepy about all this, not
Right.
gatekeepy, but like I feel like I have all this great information about what's
Well, it
going on
feels the
in
same way with
district, and I don't
facilities,
have-
and, I mean, on finance for a while there, you know, starting something like that first year.
Yeah.
But like,
Andrew, good time to shine.
You're on the edge, you know?
No, it's, yeah, I used to do that.
How much teacher engagement does the education committee involve? Because they're gonna know this data as well as the data, I mean, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, you just run into like a limit of time, like we don't
I
have the time to
understand.
meet with each individual teacher. Like, we get a presentation, you know, like,
With math,
yeah,
person came and
But even
Told us
if
about
they're-
math
If they're
curriculum.
willing, it's worth trying.
Well, like
Yeah,
Mark's
no.
saying, if the information, the presentations that you're getting, if more of them are
given to the full board, we all get that information and you guys can do a little bit deeper dives where maybe you're able to meet with, a teacher specifically
Or
or.
the coordinators for each, all these people.
I think they would feel out
Curriculum
some
leaders,
of the,
right?
Right.
some of the story and stuff, because, the teachers know all the kids individually.
For sure.
And sometimes, it'd be really easy if 3 kids intentionally did bad and the teacher knows this. It would help us not focus on something that might not really be the problem. Small classes, it only takes a few kids to throw a percentage, pretty hard.
Did you get what you needed?
Did we do anything?
Did we do what we were supposed to do?
My tasks are getting longer.
Well, I don't think that's, necessarily the goal. Like, the goal of the goal is not to,
I do worry, I think it's something else the education committee is gonna need to focus on, is like a big technology discussion. And so I also don't wanna make it so we can't do that too.
yep, I agree with that.
I think that is a pressing, issue that we kind of left off at the end of last year. So I don't know that fits directly in this, but it's definitely work that we need to do too, so I don't want us to have to get.
I think the STEM work fits into that because it's part of the curriculum
Right.
and helps us make.
Yeah, I just mean if our goal is now like looking at data and trying to bring that to the board, and I don't want us to lose our other, we only meet an hour and it has a clear end date, unlike policy
We're being
committee, which
smarter
goes on all day.
Right.
At the end of that meeting.
It's slow, other than.
But yeah.
Well, maybe we have to move the venue. I mean, I think that's an easy.
So you want longer meetings, is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, if we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
I'll say, I sit on finance and policy and it's rare, those meetings are under an hour.
Yeah.
And because it's necessary, sometimes you might have a quicker one too,
They
but
also meet
the subcommittee work is where we do the deep dive and we do a lot of our legwork. So if it does mean that we might have to, beef up the work we're doing at that level or extend the time, then in my opinion, so be it.
We're always still talking
And
at 4
walking
o'clock,
out.
and we're like walking,
Yeah,
we're walking
walking
through the
out,
lobby,
walking
like
out.
still.
And I do want to, caveat, it's just a hard, I feel like Brian and Andy are very qualified to be on the, Buildings and Grounds
Thank you,
Committee.
Steph.
But not see it.
Oh, yeah, you too.
I'm on that too.
But Amy has, the municipal experience, like you guys are subject area experts in this thing. I don't want the education committee to start, we're not qualified curriculum coordinators, like that is not, and so how do we form these goals while recognizing that we do ultimately need to defer to those people that know a hell of a lot more about education than us random town folk that
That's what's different about.
show up to the bag.
committee.
It is the difference, finance, Meredith has budgetary experience, policy.
We'll make it smart, but it doesn't mean we know.
Policy is a little bit different because, it's more, I don't know,
I think it's making it more though, that you're relating, you're not making, I think you're taking their direction, but right now, we're taking their direction without any data to back it up.
Yes.
And making a financial investment without that.
Yep.
And so understanding how they all relate with the expertise of the administration, the teachers and all of that,
Yeah.
I think is what the goal needs to be.
Yeah.
Not that you're saying we need to use this program, it's the why we need to use this program that they're recommending.
So is the goal like using achievement data to identify gaps in our current district, and then
Well,
that is what
How do we all feel about the subcommittees each establishing a goal or objective?
Love that.
Because realistically, this discussion could not support anything, but could be taking place at those first.
I think that's a
meetings.
better,
And we have those objectives, you can hash out what, is most important, what you need to do. And that encompasses, the directives of that particular goal, whether it be strategic direction, goal tracking, or, however we want to name it. But it seems like we're diving deep into the subcommittees, and it seems also that we're saying the subcommittees should establish their own goals. So maybe we should
I
do
think
that,
goal one
subcommittees.
is that each subcommittee has a goal.
Exactly.
But I don't know that those are our overarching.
And also
No,
have
right.
agenda meetings that are shared to everyone.
Yeah, like
what's
that's
the
our goal
communication
one.
between subcommittees
Right.
is goal one.
And goal
one is
two
about
is improving digital communication.
Committees
Yes.
have an annual goal that is shared with the whole board, and we monthly report out with our,
Well, standardizing it says it right on here, standardizing committee agendas, minutes, and how they're communicated to the full board.
Can't just run it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like
Everything you want to do has to
this
forget.
paper review in there.
Wants to do that to go through the
Yeah, no, very helpful.
So we got one, are we done? With one? Moving on, two?
Yes, one, done. One and done. Digital communication,
Which was kind of number
Two
three,
specific.
right?
or three.
Yeah, that's what.
too specific, but yes, that's number 3, I think community engagement, which encompasses
Communication.
improving the website is
I
the
would say
number 1.
modernizing our digital communication.
And that's been a historic goal of Mark's for the past couple of years, which I like. I don't want this, I really like this process, but I don't want it to be like each year we come up with these wild new things.
See them through.
Like,
It's a process.
it is a process, and that's okay, and it should be a process.
So like something that exists can remain.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that we're failing at the goal.
Right.
Number 2 is about,
Because really, the digital communication would fall more in the realm of what we have created for Charter 3.
yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
And we've thrown out a few objectives for that as
Number
well.
3 was the newsletter with
Well, it's communication.
Communication.
Specific,
That's an action item.
under the goals.
specific.
Yeah, so the goal would be communication, the action items would be the website, and
I think, I mean, track
Newsletter.
3, the title of that is community engagement and proactive communication.
perfect.
I think we have it.
Yeah. I think we talked about, in June about ways for the community and parents to give feedback or channels that they can communicate with the district might be useful.
Ooh, yeah, it's on the website.
Within that goal.
Yes, within that goal.
Comment cards? I was just gonna say.
And then within that goal, sharing our goal and how we share these goals, and then what's our process for communicating updates to the community.
What can do a digital comment card, but they can't submit any feedback without a positive one too.
A sandwich.
That's the place. You can't
Because
just
you don't want to
submit without a
dump
positive one
box,
too.
you know, yeah.
Right.
There goes the engagement.
We vote now.
I don't think we vote.
We're in something. We have to vote to get out of something, don't we? It's so hot.
Is this following up and reporting out on progress of something, or like circling back to stuff? Like, I feel like a lot of times we talk about stuff, and that's all. Yeah, yeah.
That's
well, like-
part of
well,
goal 1, yeah, so.
But like, underline. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
Like, we talked about this, like,
So sometimes the next meeting,
After
every
certain-
subcommittee should be
maybe
bringing like their own mini presentation.
however much time
Versus
is
just one
decided.
quick, this is what we've been doing, right?
Let's check back in on what we talked about,
Yeah.
we get needed.
maybe there's like somewhere on the agenda belongs like a follow-up, like a sort of thing that we have a good discussion that we're expecting some kind of follow-up. Maybe there's like an extra little place that just gets reported on our agenda notes, so we know that we don't lose track.
In the committee?
No,
Isn't there like a discussion part on our new business?
Yeah,
Is that when we
number
can,
one, a new
like-
business would be, if I'm understanding you correctly, would be the spot for that, where it's,
It is, I haven't even knew what that was.
You mean you're saying old business?
Nope.
No, under
If you look at new business,
discussion
number one is
clause.
discussion, number two is adjustments to the agenda.
So there's always.
So if there
room
was
for
something like you were like, hey, we started a really healthy conversation in our discussion last month, and this came to me, or I got this new info, that'd be a great opportunity to do that. Like, it's a little bit meatier, a little bit more beyond, say, board member comments where you're sharing information. If you had something that you felt, and I mean, recognizing that it could be Pandora's box, but at the same time, if you had something that you wanted to discuss, bring to the board, that, like, continue discussion, like you're saying.
And we always skip over that little spot, but that's what that's.
Well, the education committee will be scaling track 2 as our goal for the year, so.
Yeah, I think goal 2 is just the education committee works on themselves.
Reiterating what Beth said, I do think track 2 has to have something with attendance in it, so that we don't lose sight of that.
Yeah. And technology.
Mark, on multiple things, like when we were looking at last year's, like what the board's supposed to be doing, I kept seeing the annual report get mentioned places. I know that's something you're required to submit, right? Is that something that we look at as a board? I think we're supposed to look at it as a board, but I don't remember ever doing it.
By policy, I have to put one on the website every year for the district. And so each administrator and each department head submits their report. I put them all together as a district report, and then they go on the website.
Is there information in there that's important for all of us to look at? Like, is it something that we all should be reviewing too? I guess that's what I'm asking.
It's a synopsis so if you look at each building, it's a synopsis of their entire school year. There's student data, there's teacher accomplishments and data, there is overall accomplishments and events that happen throughout the year. There's a timeline of things that go on. There's a staffing breakdown, there's staffing statistics. And then each department, so there's a report from the four schools, special ed, technology, transportation, curriculum, buildings and grounds, all have reports in there collectively, and then puts an annual report in, so it's hefty, and it's all there digitally for everyone to look at. And that's the requirement of the policies, to have one to report to the public every year. It's a year in review type thing. So, it has to be up by the end of June.
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember when I was putting together the self-evaluation, one of the things was like that the board had to review it at the beginning of the year, but I don't.
Well, we could use it as like homework or part of discussion for the goal setting workshop each year.
Yeah, I mean, or like,
Because
just
we
education,
could
we
recap
can look
after
at
summer
it,
break
but
as well to look at,
Maybe we could even do it this year before our subcommittees look at it and review it before we said we would set goals at our first subcommittee.
I try to take notes based on your track conversations from tonight that I'll share at the end of the meeting. Trying to encapsulate all these conversations and ideas.
You mean it wasn't linear?
It's been a great conversation. It'd be hard to put it into summary.
Understood.
If that makes sense.
I think we have 3 buckets, hopefully we can, as we go through reviewing what you took notes on, we can drop in things into the different buckets. And then what doesn't go in the buckets,
Can't go in the trash.
or go to the committees or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Just because we said it doesn't mean it's a goal.
There you go.
Whoever doesn't reach their goal.
I like these buckets. They're like cartoon buckets.
objectives to it.
But it's like,
So thank you. I think that was a very good discussion. We have, I think, a lot of what we need to build those objectives based on the tracks. Mark and I are gonna meet after, not right after this discussion. We'll draft that up for you guys and get that out to you so we can get your feedback on that draft. Because we wouldn't look at, approving these goals and, making them, formalizing them until our next board meeting. We'd vote on that at that point. So we can get this information out to you, make sure we, hit the points.
And then now that we've all talked about it, maybe we'll have a little clarity when we look at it, where we can go, oh, now I can see like how this is all, because sometimes it's in the workshop.
Mhm.
Talking.
So that being said, I'll conclude this evening's workshop. And we can move on to executive session. Number 10, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding entering into an executive session for a personnel matter, 1 MRSA 4056A. Do I need a motion?
Make a motion.
Thank you, Amy.
Second.
Thank you, Stephanie. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of entering into an executive session for personnel matter? Unanimous. Thank you. I'll take a brief break. Come on, AC in this room.